sacred geometry, like a star tetrahedron happening. Effect on increasing dream activity, right? Especially when smoked.
Yeah.
What's going on there? Do you know what's happening?
Not a clue. But I have been eating it lately, and there has been some extra stuff going on in the dream world, for sure.
This transmission is coming to you from deep in the jungles of central Maine. You are about to get high on spirit.
So what's one of the ways to identify the mugwort?
Jeez. At this point, it's just like, that's mugwort.
Well, it's got a distinct shape to the leaves. They're very kind of, actually, if you look at it from the top down, you almost get like a geometric, like some sacred geometry, like a star tetrahedron happening.
Yeah,
there's
there's some
really
other sages, like a wormwood and some bush sage that look similar, but none of them are poisonous.
The proof is in the pudding for sure, right? I mean, it tastes like hops.
Yeah, but the other sages do too. There's some sages that taste very similar, but
yeah,
their medicinal action is all very similar too, and they could be used interchangeably. For sure.
So some of the things that people talk about, with mugwort, they'll eat it, they'll make teas out of it, and oftentimes they'll smoke this as well.
Yeah.
And it's known since antiquity to have an effect on increasing dream activity, right? Especially when smoked. What's going on there? Do you know what's happening?
Not a clue. But I have been eating it lately, and there has been some extra stuff going on in the dream world, for sure. Approaching it with my own bit of reluctancy, because the dream world is always rather interesting. But
it's a very interesting place.
And yeah, these are really good as a steamed herb as well, I hear. I've been eating the buds. These ones aren't quite budding yet. It gets its most notable activity from the thujone, which would be from Thuja officinalis, the cedars. It's in sages and wormwoods. It gets its attention through its supposed activity in absinthe.
In absinthe, I was just going to say that it's bringing up that flavor of the absinthe right now. It took a moment for it to kind of extract.
And so they thought for a while that it had some activity with the cannabinoid receptor sites, but they're seeming to say now it's not that at all. It's the GABA A receptors, the alcohol receptors, and it actually makes them fire more efficiently. How that the poet is invoked through absinthe. The mind stays clear while the body is relaxed. That sort of storyline.
Yeah, sort of taking you into trance.
Yeah. Yet staying lucid.
Well, as we know, when we are in trance, we can have amazing experiences. We can also allow for amazing and incredible healing to take place. And it's really the only way that we can have access to the master control programming that is subconscious, is we have to be able to slow our brain waves down and, move into that state that allows for us to bypass the analytical mind, get into the limbic, into the subconscious. And so it seemed like it would be an aid for that as well.
And that's where the alkaloids of concentration, where the other place that they're finding their receptor sites is in the vagus nerve, in the 5-HT3 receptors.
Okay.
Strangely enough, and the serotonin receptor site somehow. And it plays into the whole storyline of sage and letting go of emotions, and how it's bringing attention to parts of the brain and parts of the vagus nerve at the same time, that there's a release that's happening there just through contact and proximity.
Yeah, well, anytime we're awakening that connection with the vagus nerve, that allows for healing, because it's putting us in touch with, as we were talking about, that nerve goes down and into the sternum, and as it hits the sternum, it splits, kind of goes into the front and the back, and the front is responsible for that. I believe the parasympathetic, and the rear is the sympathetic nervous system. And so we're deeply accessing the subconscious, so it makes sense that this would enable a communication and a pathway for you to explore with consciousness in order to gain access to that deeper programming. Undo the things that we don't want, the maladaptive programs, right? The faulty software.
Yeah.
And yeah, just take it out like malware, because actually when we enter that autonomic and we're residing in pure awareness, in the quantum field as they call it, you know, this stuff just starts to happen because it's already highly, highly intelligent.
Yeah, and her as a form in those multidimensional worlds has been looked at from antiquity as someone that does that. Like, you can call upon her through the visionary field for someone that will just wash those things away through your imagination, and through connecting with her, people see her form in that field in different ways, but she often appears. I'm not going to give away what she appears like.
Well, it's cool that you mentioned that too, because we've been talking a lot, as you know. Vision has been really become an obsession almost in my life, and the exploration of it, the defining it, and then the creating it, you know, or the calling it forth and allowing it to call you forth. And that visionary field is a field that I'd read about for years, but never quite understood directly until, you know, recently I started being able to reside there, go there, and understand its importance and its power. And so my intention is that this right here, and these little nibbles and what I've been chewing on the last couple of weeks, will further enhance my capacity that's been growing within that field.
Yeah, and it is this one that's a gateway into that dimension. So the streets have been paved or lined with mugwort since before Roman times, as something that was on the edge of the heathens, something that guarded us from that which was unknown, and yet brought in the sweet part of it.
I love that. Cool.
What about using it for like smudging or something?
Yeah. Generally, people would wait until it's flowered and collect the flowers, wrap them as a smudge. But any form of the plant dried would work quite nicely as a smudge, or it's used in moxibustion.
What's moxibustion?
Moxibustion is when it's used in acupuncture, and you burn it over particular points that are deficient, is generally what it's used for, and it brings more energy there. It can also be used to release energy though too.
Yeah, cool. And thanks for the question, man. And guys, again, if you have any questions for us concerning mugwort or any of the other topics we've been talking about, all sorts of plant medicines, consciousness awakening, meditation practices, and mystical experiences, we'd be happy to share our thoughts and feedback. We love questions and comments from our viewers. So looking forward to connecting more and more through that medium and others. And hopefully we'll see some of you guys out on an upcoming workshop or retreat.
Experiment with mugwort as a plant to eat. It's used extensively in Japanese Oriental cooking and has very interesting flavor. It's nice in rice and meat dishes. Lots of German dishes are using mugwort.
Yeah, well, we'll do a full episode on this in the future, in the near future, and maybe we'll cook a dish up.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for watching, guys.
This transmission is coming to you from deep in the jungles of central Maine.
You've been listening to
High on Spirit.